My name is Isla Carver. I'm 25 years old, and I made one mistake that changed everything. I opened the wrong apartment door on the wrong floor. And it opened like it had been waiting for me. There was a version of my apartment inside, but the photos weren't mine, and neither was the voice that greeted me. Using my name, subscribe, like, and share before you ever find yourself one floor too high and 1 second too late. This story is written and edited by Dark Life Side Diaries. It was a mistake. I didn't notice at first the elevator had glitched. The hallway looked the same. The lights flickered in that familiar yellow way, and I was texting my landlord when I walked down to apartment 5C just like I always did. The key turned, the door opened. I stepped inside, annoyed at the draft I felt immediately, and that's when I froze. My bookshelf was in the wrong place. The kitchen chairs weren't mismatched like mine, and there was a faint smell of burnt cinnamon that I'd never allowed in my home. Still, everything else looked almost right enough to confuse, wrong enough to unsettle. The framed picture on the hallway wall was of me, but in it I had shorter hair and someone's hand resting on my shoulder. I don't remember taking that picture. I don't remember that person. I backed toward the door, only it had closed behind me softly, and when I reached for the knob, there was no knob, just smooth wood breathing faintly, like it wasn't a door anymore but skin. That's when I heard the voice from the kitchen, calm, familiar. It said, "You're early this time." I turned and saw someone sitting at the table wearing my face, but blinking out of sync. I whispered, "What is this?" And she tilted her head. "It's your turn," she said, then stood up, and I realized something horrifying. She wasn't copying me, she was remembering me. Lunged toward the hallway, heart in my throat, but the moment my feet hit the floor outside the kitchen, I wasn't in the hallway anymore. I was in my bedroom, only it wasn't arranged the way I left it, and the windows showed no city. Just a black sky moving like water, and the blinds whispered every time I passed them, not with wind, but with words I hadn't said yet, and I didn't realize I was shaking until the light bulb above me started flickering to the rhythm of my breath, fast, erratic, scared. I ran to the bedroom door, opened it, found the bathroom instead. My hand reached for the light switch, but I never touched it. The lights turned on before I moved, like the apartment was a second ahead of me. I screamed, and the shower curtain slowly peeled open by itself, steam curling out. But no water was running, only silence and something soft breathing inside. I slammed the door shut and turned back, and now the living room was in front of me, not mine, but one from a dream I only half remembered. My grandmother's chair, my old childhood blanket, a photo of me with no face, and then came the voice again. That calm, glitching voice from the kitchen. "You always run at this part, but you won't get far. You never do." I turned. She was standing behind me, still smiling, like she knew every ending I never lived in. As I backed away, the floor groaned, not wood, not tile. It sounded like a ribcage shifting. She disappeared the moment I blinked, not like a person vanishing, but like a TV frame cutting out mid-broadcast, leaving static behind my eyelids, and when I opened them again, the apartment had gone silent, too silent, like the kind of silence that pushes on your skull, and there, lying neatly on the living room table, was a black leather journal, cracked at the edges, the kind I used to carry in college. I hadn't seen it in years. I opened it. Inside was my handwriting, looping fast, a little messy the way it gets when I'm panicking, and the first line said, "You made it to part 3. This is where she starts letting you remember." I felt cold. I flipped the page. There were notes on the exact things I'd done since entering this place, walking into the wrong apartment. The kitchen smell, the door vanishing, the echo of my voice, the stitched version of me, everything dated, logged. Like this wasn't my first time here, like I'd lived this over and over. The last page I turned to wasn't finished yet, just one line scratched across it. "Don't look in the mirror, not yet. She's still behind your eyes." I dropped the journal in. That's when every mirror in the apartment, the hallway one, the bathroom one, the glass on the oven door, cracked simultaneously, and in each reflection, I wasn't standing still, I was smiling, even though I wasn't. "Ben me," her voice again. "Calm, icy. That journal's not yours, it's mine. You just wore me long enough to finish it." I don't know why I did it, maybe because the journal warned me not to, or maybe because some part of me already knew it was too late, but I stepped into the hallway and stood before the tall mirror outside the bedroom door, the one I used to check before leaving for work every morning, and as I stared into the cracked glass, I felt a pull, not physical but mental, like my thoughts were being vacuumed straight out of my spine, and at first the reflection was me until it wasn't. Her eyes were still mine, but sharper, hungrier, blinking half a second before I did. Her hands moved while mine stayed still. And then, slowly, deliberately, she lifted her palm and pressed it to the inside of the glass. My hand didn't move. I couldn't move. I just watched as she mimed me better than I ever could, with a look that said, I've been waiting to step forward. Then she leaned closer and mouthed, "It's your turn now, be the memory." The hallway. Lights buzzed. My knees buckled. I tried to scream, but no sound came out, and then behind the mirror, I saw more of her, more of me. Stacked like layers, each one watching each one slightly wrong. One version had no eyes, one had too many, one bled from the mouth but smiled like she deserved it. The reflection of me began flickering like static, and in each flash she was getting closer to being real, to crossing over, to stepping into my world while I stood frozen in hers, and the moment her foot hit my side of the mirror, I finally remembered this wasn't the first time I'd seen her. This was just the first time I recognized. Harry grabbed the nearest thing. I could have cracked lamp from the floor wires trailing behind like veins, and I swung it with everything I had, aiming straight at the reflection that wasn't me anymore, screaming so hard my throat burned and the glass exploded into 1,000 shards that floated midair like dust caught in light. Except they didn't fall, they hung there frozen, humming faintly, each one still showing her face, not shattered, not hurt, just multiplied like every piece of broken mirror had become a window into another version of her, into more rooms I hadn't seen yet, rooms that didn't exist in my world but remembered me anyway. I fell backward shaking, and as I stared into the storm of glass, I saw things I wish I hadn't, myself sleeping in other places, myself screaming in silence, myself begging someone I couldn't see. Each reflection was a memory I never made, but somehow still felt. I covered my face sobbing, trying to block it out, but the images burned inside my eyelids. I didn't break the mirror, I opened it, and when I looked up again, she was gone. Not gone like vanished, gone like entered, because suddenly my skin felt unfamiliar, my breath tasted metallic, and behind my eyes something else blinked first. Then the journal reappeared, only this time the title on the front had changed. It no longer said Isla's journal, it said Attempt 6, Integration Pending. The journal slipped from my hands, but before it hit the floor, it dissolved into smoke, not burning but fading like an old thought you're not supposed to hold on to, and the moment it vanished, the walls of the apartment shifted like lungs exhaling for the first time in years. A door appeared across from me, one that hadn't been there before. Pale green metal frame, the kind you'd find in hospitals or basements. They don't give you keys. For it pulsed once, then opened on its own. I stepped inside. What I saw froze every part of me that still felt human. The room was massive, not possible in a building this size, and it was filled with rows of mirrors, each one showing a different version of me. One, Isla, had red hair and was sobbing in a corner. Another clawed at her own face. One smiled with teeth, too sharp, blood on her collar. One just stared back, eyes wide, whispering, "Don't blink, don't blink, don't blink." And at the center of the room was her, not the stitched one, not the smiling one, a new version, clean, still, empty. She looked at me like I was the shadow, and then she spoke calmly, like it wasn't even a question. "You're the old one now." I took a step back, but the mirrors responded, their surfaces rippled, showing me how I got here. Every loop, every attempt, every version that thought she was real, but none of us were. We were just data points in a system that only needed one Isla to work, and I wasn't it anymore. The mirrors began to fade, one by one, dimming like dying stars, each Isla blinking out of existence without a sound, their reflections swallowed by the walls, and I stood there shaking, heart pounding like it belonged to someone else already. While the new version of me stepped forward, slow, controlled, the kind of calm I never felt but always faked, and as she passed me, I reached out to stop her, to prove I was still the real one, but my hand went through her like smoke, and I realized then I was no longer solid, no longer current, just a ghost in the operating system, a glitch being cleared, a draft being overwritten. She opened the apartment door with ease, no lock, no resistance, and walked into my world like it had always been hers. And when I turned back toward the mirrors, only one remained mine, and it didn't reflect me anymore. It showed an empty hallway and a door slowly closing, and then came the final voice, cold and mechanical, echoing from the ceiling like a god whispering through vents. Attempt 7 successfully installed, previous iteration archived. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came, only dust, and now I wait behind the walls, another whisper in the glass, watching, waiting, because one day she'll come back, and when she does, I'll remember her better than she remembers herself. Thank you for watching The Wrong Apartment Door. What if the scariest place isn't outside your door? It's the version of you already inside, waiting to live better. Subscribe, like, and share before someone opens your door and finds a version of themselves already moved in. This story is written and edited by Dark Lifeside Diaries.